Hi there, welcome to the Animals Naturally podcast with me, Suzanne. The aim of this podcast is to give you tips and ideas on how to care for your animal more naturally. Whether your animal is large or small, there's a whole world of complementary therapies that you can use to help your animal have a more naturally healthy lifestyle. I'm founder of Taranet, a leading natural animal healthcare resource at taranet.co.uk. In this episode of the podcast, I'm going to be interviewing Erica Messer. Erica Messer has set up a company called Wolfies. It publishes books, cards and award-winning affirmation decks for pet loss. Unfortunately, as much as we love our animals, we are likely to outlive them. So pet loss grief is something that we need to confront at some point during our lives as animal lovers. So without further ado, I'll introduce you to Erica and you can hopefully find lots of useful information to help you cope with what is a very traumatic time. So welcome, Erica. Can you tell me a bit more about how you came to develop Wolfie's Wish?
Hi, Suzanne. Yeah, I can. My circumstances were a little unusual. My cat Wolfgang died suddenly and very tragically, and really left me devastated. And I didn't know what to do. I just didn't know what to do with myself. I was feeling so awful. And okay, so I go to the internet and Google like, how do you deal with this? And there's a lot of books available. But I was just not in the capacity to sit down and read. And I just felt, oh, what if it doesn't help me? And do I have to read the whole book to feel better? Um, so that's how I got into Wolfie's Wish, and I ended up developing my own practices that felt natural to me. And there's nothing magical or special. It's just acknowledging my grief and pain and asking, okay, what can I do today to help facilitate my healing? And so out of that evolved basically a card deck, which I had looked for on Amazon and couldn't find. Um, and then my family and friends loved the idea, and I would share with them the cards and the practices. And they're really simple, like remembering to breathe through your cry storms, just reminders and guidance and tips to kind of get you on that path. And here we are today, and they actually won a Best New Product Award last year at international trade show called Super Zoo. So that gave me a lot of motivation to keep going and a little, encouragement on the back. Say like, yeah, okay, this isn't a crazy idea.
Yeah, so what surprised you the most when you were looking to, or how to get support? You talked about looking online. What
Yeah,
surprised you? Was it the absence of anything really, or what?
yeah. I mean, there was I remember the first result came up and it was more or less like it's like pet loss gifts, and I was a little disappointed in that. And so um I I just didn't find any this is for me, websites. I just, like I said, there's a lot of books. So, I did an Amazon search. I needed something that was very much like how-to guide, right? Like really basic stuff. And I ended up getting a counselor, someone that I knew and had worked with before, and she wasn't really able to help me with this specificity. And so I thanked her, and then I said, I'm going to actually look for someone who can specialize in this. And that was also a little bit of a frustrating journey to meet over Zoom. But I did find a woman named Anne Catarello. And, when she told me that everything I was experiencing was normal, I really didn't believe her. And I remember it taking several times to ensure me that all of my symptoms were completely normal. And it was like an epiphany to know that other people felt that way, because I struggle with mental health issues. So I'm used to being a little bit off and emotional and up and down. I'm bipolar. And I was sure that this event had triggered something, when in fact it had not. And that's when I called my mom and I said, what do you think? Can should we make these cards? And my friends and family and people I barely knew just started throwing money at me. And the funny thing is they thought I was making sympathy note cards, which we do in fact now make. But once they found out we were making a 30-day card deck with, simple tools and practices, they were like, oh my God, that's amazing. So, I don't like to take credit for that. I think it was just something that happened, and I don't feel like, I'm special or anything like that. I just feel really grateful that there's now tools out there, and now people are copying the idea finally. So there's a counselor in Australia making some. That's all I really know about, actually, but I know it's only a matter of time before other people will be making a similar product, which is great, because we just, I think, need to validate pet loss grief and also have tools and resources. So I've built my own resources on wolfieswish.com, and they're always growing. So there's a blog and a YouTube channel with interviews, even Cat and Catarello. And so people can have sort of an introduction to counseling and what it's like. I also have veterinarians that talk about the in-home euthanasia process for people that are anticipatory grief, right? Anticipating the loss of their animals. So I try to be all encompassing, and I'm always asking followers on Instagram and people that buy my cards, how can I make this easier for you? What kind of resources do you want? What kind of content do you want? And I think it'll just be an ongoing journey. And it's really, it's a strange word to use, but it's really exciting for me because it's new and needed. So it's always this challenge, right? Of what can I do today? What can we add today? And that's really fun for me, actually.
Yeah, better make a difference is an enormous thing. And certainly I've got quite an equestrian background. I had horses for years, and I know certainly there's a couple of horse charities now do offer, like I said, the anticipatory grief. People have helplines and people to support people making the difficult decisions about horses coming near to the end of their life and afterwards. Because I think, as you say, it's an area that's perhaps not been given the focus that it requires, because it's they're part of your family at the end of the day, aren't they? Our pets.
Oh, yeah.
So, absolutely.
And that was really interesting for me to find out that it's not just specific to people that own cats and dogs, but in fact, all around the world, people have all kinds of pets and birds, even fish, turtles, guinea pigs, and we all grieve. I interviewed Dr. Doug Mader, who's a renowned veterinarian in Florida, and he talked about how he grieved a pet frog that he cared for almost 2 decades. And so grief is really universal, and it's okay to talk about. It's okay to support people. And do we like to talk about it? No. But when, I care about people, I want them to be healthy and happy again. And that's Wolfies Wish's mission, is to help people find the tools that they need to go to live the rest of their life without this, bleeding heart. We're all going to have broken hearts. My heart still breaks, but it's not just bleeding every day. And I've never used that analogy, but I think you know what I mean. It's just not an open wound, but finding ways to keep going.
Yeah, I think grief's an interesting thing for whatever we're grieving, whether it's human or animal. It's an area people don't often like to talk about, do they? People can be quite frightened of actually expressing their grief for the reaction they might get from somebody else, and likewise, people don't know how to deal with other people's grief, do they? Sometimes it's a very complicated subject.
It really is.
Really is complicated.
I think.
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Oh, sorry. I think for me in the past, when I get some news like that, I almost feels like a disease I'm going to catch of sadness. And so I myself have experienced not wanting to talk about the subject and not knowing how to help other people. And so I think having some support for people that are grieving, like our online support groups, where you can come and air out your grievances and share in a community, is really helpful, because not everyone in our immediate family and day-to-day life is going to understand and give us the support we need. And in fact, sometimes they can be hurtful by saying, it was just a horse, or it was just a cat. And that makes the person question, should I be feeling this bad? Maybe they're right. And it just compounds the bad feelings.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Wolfie's Wish is really based on what was good. What was your favorite memory? What makes your heart feel good when you think about your relationship? And so you're kind of balancing all that heavy grief with, wait, oh, I was really lucky to have the experiences that we had. And, you're kind of pulling, that's my experience, was I was pulling myself out of, really the depths of despair. I know it sounds dramatic, but that's my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you about any common myths around pet loss grief, and I think you probably just touched on some there actually about the people sort of trying to minimising, and actually that's okay to minimise pets as being less as important as humans. And I think that's pretty a myth, isn't it? It's totally not the case. Is there any other myths you would say, particularly you found around pet loss grief?
Well, the thing that still shocks me, even I think we started this 21 months ago, is that for me and my experience in my life and losing people in my family that were close to me, losing Wolfgang was still the hardest thing I've ever gone through, including several very serious health issues. Um, it just really shocks me still to say that it was the most profound loss I've ever had. And I haven't lived, a sugar-coated life. Like I said, I've, for one example of mental health struggles, that's not a walk in the park. That's really hard. So I want other people to realize that pet loss grief is valid. It's very serious. Um, and there are crisis hotlines now for this specific thing. That's how serious it is. And I think for people that don't have pets, maybe they have kids, maybe they don't have kids, it's almost impossible for them to understand and relate. And that's okay. I don't know. I don't have children, human children. So I don't know what it's like to have the bond of a child, right? And I'm no way comparing the two. Um, I'm only saying that as outsiders and people that don't have pets, it's really hard to understand the human animal bond and how strong that is. And so that's why some of my blogs address that. How do I help support my neighbor, my friend, my colleague, my sister, my best friend when I don't understand what they're going through? What do I say? And just for your listeners, the really short answer is to ask your friend or that person, what can I do to support you? And let them tell you. So it's it's sort of an opener to say, hey, I want to support you and I don't really know what to do. It's the best thing you can say to someone. And then you guys have an entry point, right, of where to start. And that's going to be different for everyone. The answer is always going to be different depending on the individual. But I think that's the best thing people can do.
That's really great advice, isn't it? I think absolutely, definitely, because it gives people a non confronting way to offer support and to
Yeah.
say what they want, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's real simple.
Can you say a bit more about your music background? I understand you're quite
Oh,
musical,
sure.
and how you use
Yeah.
that to help pet owners.
Yeah, well, I've been a harpist my whole life and I've tried other careers, but I always came back to the harp. And mostly now my day-to-day job with it is teaching, which I now do over Zoom mostly. And then I'm also a harpist, singer, DJ. So I do a lot of big corporate events or weddings, and it's so fun. It is so fun, right? But since I've started this journey of Wolfie Swish, I've said, how can I know the harp is healing, it's soothing, people like it. Let me finish my program. I was studying to be a clinical musician and I stopped during COVID because I just couldn't handle it. So I'm coming back to that and finishing my certification, but I'm really interested in how harp music can help animals. And I don't have the answer today. At the very least, I think it can calm them. And so if you have a senior animal that's maybe in pain and needing treatment, why not have some harp music, whether it's recorded or live, probably going to be recorded because there's not a lot of us out there. But and with humans, it's a distraction, right? It's something for them to focus on while they're getting maybe a procedure or an MRI. And so it helps reduce stress, helps lower blood pressure so the body can heal itself. And I'm so excited to see how I can bring that into animals. But also I use it to help people that are grieving. I do a lot of online memorial services or tributes. And there's a great amount of songs like Over the Rainbow and I Will Always Love You, Home by, what's the band? Not Ed Sheeran. Anyway, so there's a lot of songs that actually really apply to pet loss grief. And I think it's just another facet of people to feel, to honor their animals. And so it's super exciting to see for me where that's going. Um, and I still do the fun stuff. I love to play rock and pop covers and sing. And I also, oh gosh, so I also do pet portraiture, which I started during COVID, and I offer that on our website as well. And I like to do it all myself, but when I have too many orders, then I have some trusted colleagues that help fulfill that. So it's pretty busy.
You sound phenomenally busy.
Yeah, but it's fun. I mean, I've never been more energized and excited to do what I do because it's so darn fulfilling, and I never feel like I'm working.
Yeah, that's the
I'm
best
lucky.
kind of, well, it's not, I say it's best kind of work when you don't feel like you're working, isn't it? 'Cause you're doing
Yeah,
something you love and making a real difference. It's really, really powerful.
I'm really
Good
lucky.
stuff, really motivational.
Yeah.
So what other services are you looking into developing over the coming months? I understand you're
Oh,
looking to
yeah. Well, there's a beautiful person. Her name is Saskia, and she reached out to me because we had translated the cards already to Spanish, German, and French. I had big plans for these once I got that award, and she was so nice and reached out on Instagram and said, your translation of your posts is a little off because I don't I'm not native, right? I'm not fluent, but I try. And so she volunteered to help, and I ended up hiring her for more services and more duties. And then she said, I really love what what you're doing, and I love this need, and I want to become a pet loss counselor. So we have a plan now in about 4 months to start hosting our own virtual pet loss groups. And I myself am getting certified in pet bereavement in September. So we hope to grow and partner with more professionals so we can provide this kind of support all around the world. I have a woman in Australia to that's interested. I want to find someone in the UK that's interested, and just really be able to kind of have global support, because why not? And I in no way want to compete with anyone else. There are other groups, but we're just trying to bring some products that are in development to have this like holistic approach of how many things can we offer someone, and what will they respond to and want. And that's, again, back to the website, that's an ongoing thing. And so we do have some products coming out that I'm going to keep um, close to my chest, keep our cards hidden for a little while because I don't have a tight timeline, but it's literature. We'll put it that way.
Mhm. Oh, that
Yeah.
sounds really exciting, and it's all through
Thank
your
you.
website then, so people can keep up to date
Oh
through
yeah.
services and new products on your website.
Yeah, absolutely. Wolfieswish.com, and we have a newsletter. So we want our subscribers to know first and foremost when we're having these events, like the memorial or new products or specials. Um, and then also on Instagram, Wolfies_wish. I post a lot of day-to-day content that is helpful, and what are some things you can make for friends, and um, and I post videos of Harp on there, and it's really fun to engage, right, with the followers. And I really love Instagram for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a really good platform, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love Instagram too. Um, so is there any final thoughts you'd like to leave listeners with? Just thinking about if they're recently experienced pet bereavement, or maybe about to.
Yeah, I think that pet grief is real and valid. And so I want people to hear that and know that whatever they're experiencing is probably really normal, but there is support. And it's really up to the individual to decide what kind of support they need. And also just again underscore that sentiment of supporting friends, families, colleagues by asking, how can I show up for you? I don't really know what to do. Do you need food? Can I check your mail and take your trash out? Do you want to be left alone? And just start from there. And let people tell you what they need. And please don't ever say it was just a fill in the blank. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Is there anything we've not covered that you wanted to share, or have we?
No, we covered
really,
a lot and
we
the really
packed a lot of,
important stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. No, that I
Yeah.
think I'm really happy and thank you for giving your platform to this important topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you reached out. I think it's an important topic, as we said earlier. It's not something that people talk about very often, but it's really,
Yeah,
really real. And all the work you're doing is invaluable. So I'll put some links to your website in the show notes so people can
thank you.
easily contact you and your Instagram. So thank you very much, and
Thank you,
speak to you
Suzanne.
soon. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I hope you found that an interesting interview with Erica. Confronting pet loss is something that we must sadly deal with at some point or another as animal lovers. So hopefully you've got lots of tips now on what you can do to help yourself or even support other people you know who are going through their own pet loss journey or approaching end of life care for their pet or other animal. If you'd like more information on Wolfie's Wish, then visit Erica's website at wolfieswish.com. I'll put a link in the show notes. You can also find lots more information on holistic therapies for animals, including aloe vera products for your animal or yourself, and business coaching for pet care entrepreneurs at my website at tarinet.co.uk. I thank Erica for sharing her story and her inspirational ideas on how to cope with a challenging time. I do hope you found that interesting, and do please like and share this podcast so other people can also get tips on how to cope with animal loss, and also how to help their animal have a more naturally healthy lifestyle. Until next time, thank you, goodbye.